Welcome, everyone, to the Frequency Shift podcast with Alexis Gallagher and Susan Elliott. Today, we are diving into one of the most influential wealth building books ever written. We're on the science of getting rich. And we're on the next four chapters, or next, excuse me, three chapters, 4, 5, and 6. So in these chapters, he's talking, it's like the turning point of the book where he turns philosophy into like the actual mechanics of how to manifest um, your goals. So we're going to explore this together and study it. And this is the foundational part of Wallace Wattles' books. And increasing your life is a true measure of value and how riches actually come to you when you shift from, he talks about shifting from the competitive mindset to the creative mindset. And that's what these chapters are about. It's laying the groundwork for the entire method that he teaches, and for anybody that's serious about transforming. So the chapter 4, the title is The First Principle in the Science of Getting Rich. Thought is the only power which can produce tangible riches from the formless substance. The stuff from which all things are made is a substance that thinks, and a thought of form in the substance produces the form. Original substance moves according to its thoughts. Every form and process you see in nature is a visible expression of a thought in original substance. So this is so powerful, but it is like, some people, again, I'll use that word woo woo, but everything is energy, everything. I mean, and particles, energy particles are all around us. Just because we can't see them doesn't mean that they're not there. Just like electricity, you can't see it, but it's there. Not, it's there.
Right. And we use it every day, even though, right, we don't understand it, but we still rely on it every single day. So if you apply that thinking to what Susan and I are teaching here, it's like it's something that is real and however makes it more believable or real to you to look at it through whichever lens, whether it's a scientific lens or which we can talk about energy and atoms and mass and all that, or if we look at through it through religious or spiritual theologian lens, right, where we understand spirit's always moving in and out of form. Either way, we're working with the same stuff here, and it is real, and it will change your life as you gain a deeper and better understanding.
Thank you, Alexis. That's exactly correct. So Wallace Wattles, he goes on, he says, a person is a thinking center and can originate thought. All the forms that a person fashions with his hands must first exist in his thought. He cannot shape a thing until he has thought that thing. So far, humankind has confined its efforts wholly to the work of its hands, applying manual labor to the world of forms and seeking to change or modify those already existing. So he's further down in this chapter, he says, first we assert there is one original formless stuff or substance from which all things are made. All the seemingly many elements are but different presentations of one element. So he's just basically saying what we've been saying is everything, just because it's a different shape, this is a chair, but at the level of vibration, the frequency it's at, that's why it's a chair. Otherwise, everything would just be floating around like in the Matrix if it wasn't vibrating at a specific frequency. All the many forms found in organic and inorganic nature are but different shapes made from the same stuff. And this stuff is thinking stuff. A thought held in it produces the form of the thought. Thought in thinking substance produces shapes. A human being is a thinking center capable of original thought. If a person can communicate his thought to original substance, he can cause the creation or formation of the thing he thinks about. To summarize this, there is a thinking stuff from which all things are made, and which in its original state permeates, penetrates, and fills the inner space of the universe. So we're doing it now anyway. It's just learning how to reprogram yourself to produce what you want to produce instead of the things that you don't want. If you look around and look at your results, it will tell you exactly how you're programming and how you're thinking. And if you don't like that, you can change it. Whether it's a relationship, whether it's the money that you earn, it's what you're thinking, it's how you're programmed.
And that's so well said. And then also that last bit that you just read, I would recommend, highly recommend to our listeners to go back, listen to that, write it down, and burn that into your memory because that few sentences there will just change your life. Really, they will.
Yes, and that, it's like our great mentor Bob always taught. He said that, I mean, he used to just study one paragraph or one sentence, and he got that from Earl Nightingale because he asked Earl one time, why do you have that book in that book stand on your desk? And, don't you want to turn the pages? And Earl Nightingale said, no, because I want to keep reading that and studying that until I start doing that and implementing that in my life. So there's no reason to keep studying more books if you're not implementing one of these ideas and putting it to use in your life. Then what good is it to keep reading the books and keep studying them? You have to take action.
Right. It's very good.
This is the first step toward getting rich. And to think what you want to think is to think truth, regardless of appearances. So it's easy. We were just talking, Alexis and I were just talking about the outside environment. It's so easy to buy into it, and you're like, this is my life right now. It's evidence. I can see it. Well, it is, but you did attract it and you can change it.
Mhm.
So Wallace says every individual has the natural and inherent power to think what he wants to think, but it requires far more effort to do so than it does to think the thoughts which are suggested by appearances. To think according to appearances, that's easy. To think truth, regardless of appearances, is laborious and requires the expenditure of more power than any other work we're called upon to perform.
I think that's so important to reflect on because I think we're really in a like reactive culture, and it's so easy to just go around and well, that person did that. That person made me feel that way. She made me mad. He made me angry. And it's like, no, you did it to yourself. And it's you have to think it's work. It's not hard work, but it is work and effort that a lot of people just don't want to do. They don't want to take the responsibility and they don't want to put in the effort to actually really think, let alone if they've even been really taught how to think. Um, but once you start practicing it, you gain a better awareness of it, and and it's just very freeing, and you know that you have the pen in your hand to create whatever life you want to live.
That's so true. So Bob would say if you allowed what Mary said to affect what you believe about yourself, you're not thinking. If you allowed that into your thought process, then you're not thinking.
It's a
So
reaction.
yeah,
Yeah.
you
There's
don't
no thought.
allow that.
Yeah.
It's a choice. It's a choice. And
Mhm.
everybody does it. I mean, Alexis and I have studied for years and meditated, and we know that, yeah, it's just automatic a lot of times in human nature to do that. So he goes on, he says, to think health when surrounded by the appearances of disease, or to think riches when in the midst of the appearances of poverty requires power. But whoever acquires this power becomes a mastermind. That person can conquer fate and can have what he wants.
Yeah, it's not, again, not always easy when you're in the midst of unfavorable circumstances, right? Yeah, your checking account's not where you want it to be, your body's not where you want it to be, but you you just gotta let that go. No, it's past thinking, and then just pony up and be like, okay, what do I want? And this is it now. And then I'm so happy and grateful now that, and live that truth. And then in a very short amount of time, that will be the reality that you're living.
The results that you have now are past thinking. So it was your
Right.
thinking, I don't know, 3 months ago. Those are the results now, not, so that's your past thinking, and you can change that.
Mm-hmm.
There is a thinking stuff. This one last couple of sentences sums up this whole book basically. There is a thinking stuff from which all things are made, and which in its original state permeates, penetrates, and fills the inner spaces of the universe. A thought in the substance produces the thing that is imaged by the thought. Such a great summary on this chapter or this
It
whole book.
is. Yeah.
So then chapter 5, he's talking about increasing life. He says we must get rid of the last vestige of the old idea that there is a deity whose will it is that you should be poor, or whose purpose may be served by keeping you in poverty. The intelligent substance, which is all and in all, which lives in all, lives in you, is a consciously living substance. Being a consciously living substance, it must have the nature and inherent desire of every living intelligence for increase of life. Every living thing must continually seek for the enlargement of its life, because life is the mere act of living, must increase itself. So it's normal and natural to want increase and to fully express yourself.
Right. And that substance is omnipresent. It's everywhere all the time, waiting to serve you.
He says we must get rich so that we can live more. So you can live more, you can have better experiences, you can try different things, you can travel to places, you can help people. And he says the desire for riches is simply the capacity for larger life seeking fulfillment. Every desire is the effort of an unexpressed possibility to come into action. It is essential, however, that your purpose should harmonize with the purpose that is in all. You must want real life, not mere pleasure or sensual gratification. Life is the performance of function, and the individual really lives only when he performs every function, physical, mental, and spiritual, and which he is capable without excess in any. So remember, he said to be whole, you have to live. All three of those are just as important: mind, body, and spirit. No one
Right.
of them is more important than the other.
Mm-hmm.
You must get rid of the thought of competition. You are to create, not to compete for what is already created. You do not have to take anything away from anyone. You do not have to drive sharp bargains. You do not have to cheat or take advantage. You do not need to let anyone work for you for less than he earns.
I
So,
love that
mhm.
because some people really try to just grind and grind, a bargain or a deal. And it's like they just don't know. I mean, yeah, you can still go make a deal, but you want it to be good for everybody involved, right? And and it also puts you into a negative frequency of lack, limitation, And so being aware of that, where there is abundance, yeah, you still want value, you still want a good deal, and that's fair. Make it fair for everybody.
Leaving others with increase.
Hmm.
He says they are he's talking about, let me see. I lost my place for a second. He says, remember, if you are to become rich in a scientific and certain way, you must rise entirely out of the competitive thought. You must never think for a moment that the supply is limited. Just as soon as you begin to think that all the money is being cornered and controlled by others, and that you must exert yourself to get laws passed to stop this process, and so on, in that moment, you drop into the competitive mind, and your power to cause creation is gone for the time being.
It is so important. And Susan and I were just talking about that earlier before we started recording. It's a real thing that we experience. And again, your awareness is always going to play into how well you can be in alignment and in praxis and all of that. But I think I talked about it last time too, just visualizing it, right? Like, okay, here's the creative plane, and then one step higher, or sorry, the competitive plane, and then one step higher is the creative plane. And that's where you really want to be. And it should never be like a fight for, you know, the pie analogy where, well, just because he's getting a bigger slice of pie doesn't mean I have less pie. It means we build a bigger pie.
Exactly. It's endless. So how could there be less pie?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm not judging, but I know a person who actually says, oh, they think that I shouldn't earn more money, or they think that I don't deserve this. It's like, how could you say that? The supply is endless and you have to learn to tap into it. If you say that, you're making it so
Right.
for
And it's
yourself.
and again, without, not being rude, but it is a display of that person's ignorance to this material, because if they knew and understand the laws, that wouldn't be a thought. They wouldn't be saying that type of thing.
Exactly, exactly. So now we're on to chapter 6. And the title of 6 is How Riches Come to You. When I say you do not have to drive sharp bargains, I do not mean that you do not have to drive any bargains at all, or that you're above the necessity of having any dealings with your fellow men. I mean that you will not need to deal with them unfairly. You do not have to get something for nothing, but can give to every person more than you take from him. You cannot give everyone more in cash market value than you take from them, but you can give him more in use value than the cash value of the thing you take from him. The paper, ink, and other material in this book may not be worth the money you pay for it. But if the ideas suggested by it bring you thousands of dollars, those who sold it to you have not wronged you.
I love that perspective. And it is also very true, and I can speak from personal experience. This book has brought me hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that means you, the listeners, if you go out and get yourself a copy of this and not just read it, but live by it, you can go well beyond what Susan and I are doing and earn millions of dollars just from utilizing the knowledge in this book.
Yeah, very much so. So, and I love how he integrates some scriptures in his work and some spiritual teachings where he says you need not hesitate about asking largely. It is your Father's pleasure to give you the kingdom, said Jesus. Original substance wants to live all that is possible in you and wants you to have all that you can use and will use for the living of the most abundant life. If you fix upon your consciousness the fact that your desire for the possession of riches is one with the desire of the supreme power for more complete expression, your faith becomes invincible. That's wonderful. Fix your upon your consciousness the fact that your desire for the possession of riches is one with the desire of the supreme power. So that's where it comes from.
Yeah, it's you have a mastermind with supreme intelligence. On
Yes. And so he goes on. I love this part. He says, once I saw a little boy sitting at a piano, vainly trying to bring harmony out of the keys. I saw that he was grieved and provoked by his inability to play real music. I asked him the cause of his vexation, and he answered, I can feel the music in me, but I can't make my hands go right. The music in him was the urge of original substance containing all the possibilities of all life. All that there is of music was seeking expression through the child. So I love that. I love that. That's where it comes from.
mm-hmm.
And he goes on, he says, God, the one substance, is trying to live and do and enjoy things through humanity. He is saying, I want hands to build beautiful structures, to play divine harmonies, to paint glorious pictures. I want feet to run my errands, eyes to see my beauties, tongues to tell mighty truths, and to sing marvelous songs, and so on. All that there is of possibility is seeking expression through people. God wants those who can play music to have pianos and every other instrument, and to have the means to cultivate their talents to the fullest extent. I love that.
Beautiful idea. I love it.
So, yeah, so basically, to summarize this, he just talks about it, the foundation, and that thought is the first creative force. Increasing life is the measure of true value, and riches come when you shift your competitive state to creation. Instead of competing, you're creating. And so these chapters set the stage for the practical steps that follow in the book, and they challenge us to rethink how wealth is formed. For fighting for limited resources by tapping into an unlimited creative source, not fighting for limited resources because it's limitless as
Mm-hmm.
the source.
Infinite supply, and we're the creators. So it's a beautiful idea that is real, and we know because we've worked with it. And we would love to work with you listeners on coaching you into bigger, better lives. So if you are interested and this resonates with you, please reach out to Susan and I. We are here to help you. Just send over an email and we will be in touch. And we're so, so grateful for all of you, and have a wonderful evening wherever you are. And we'll see you next time.
You
Susan?
can also tune into the frequency shift podcast, which is audio only. So bye
Wonderful.
bye.
Thank you. All righty.